Before Twitter threads and group chats gave us space to vent about men, careers, motherhood, and everything in between, four Black women in the 90s were already doing it over wine, cigarettes, and iconic hairstyles. This week, we're revisiting Waiting to Exhale, the film that brought us sisterhood and dating traumas for. Welcome to the No More Late Fees podcast. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Jackie, and we're just two best friends and ex-Blockbuster employees rewatching some of the best and worst movies from the late 90s and early 2000s. And this week, we're breathing with the 1995 classic Waiting to Exhale. But before we dive in, let's get into some housekeeping. If you love the podcast and you want to support us, here are a few ways that you can.
Well, there's no way around it. We're two thirsty bitches. So if you want to show us some love, if we've ever made you laugh or you loved our hot takes, make sure you go to our Ko-fi page and give us some of your change for a coffee. Well, not at this economy. It's not change anymore. Give us half your paychecks. Thank you. So go to ko-fi.com/no more late fees.
And as I had mentioned earlier, we have Meah and Trish from the Shit Black Girls Watch podcast with us. Hello, ladies. So happy to have you on.
Welcome.
Yes, we're glad to be here.
So happy to be here.
Why don't you guys...
Great.
Oh, thank you. Why don't you tell everybody about your pod?
You want me to go this time? Yeah, it's just a film and TV podcast by two best friends. We love talking film. I think both of us have really interesting perspectives. Trish is a scholar, so she does a really amazing job with research and historical facts about films and TV shows. And we also like to be a little ratchet, so you'll get some interesting topics. Like one of our favorite episodes is our Hood Classics episode. So check out that episode about crackhead Santa Clauses.
And Meah also has like a really extensive, because I feel like she didn't plug herself, a really extensive career in film and production. So she actually does this.
That's awesome.
Which is
nice.
cool.
Well, if you want to learn more about Meah and Trish, make sure you check out this week's bonus episode where we will be talking all things Waiting to Exhale soundtrack. But now Jackie's going to tell us, what is Waiting to Exhale about, Jack?
Four women living in Phoenix navigate love, betrayal, motherhood, and ambition as they fight to maintain joy, friendship, and self-worth in a world that keeps trying to sell them the bare minimum. It stars Whitney Houston, Angela Bassett, Loretta Devine, Leela Rashawn, Gregory Hines, Dennis Haysbert, Michael Beach, Wendell Pierce, and Leon. Directed by Forrest Whitaker in his feature directorial debut, the screenplay was by Terry McMillan and Ron Bass and was based on the novel by Terry McMillan from 1992. You can currently watch it on Hulu/Disney Plus. But before we start, let's get into our ratings rewind.
Oh, you know the drill. Before we get into the movie, we will reveal the rating our Y2K versions of ourselves would give. Then at the end, see if our current selves agree with our initial rating. Our scale consists of would buy it again,
The best, would play on repeat,
5-day rental,
would watch again.
2-day rental,
It's okay, but nothing to write home about.
and same-day rental.
Trash, light it on the fire. It's trash.
That was an easy one this episode. All right. Okay, Meah, we're going to start with you. What was your Y2K rating of this movie, or when you first initially saw your younger self?
Oh, good question. Because when did I actually see it? Like, at what age is the real question? I would probably say I would watch it again. Yeah, I think back then I would do a 5-day rental for sure.
Yeah. And Trish?
Something about Waiting to Exhale feels like a rite of passage for young Black girls to have had to rewatch it with their mothers over and over. in purgatory of Black womanhood. But I do think my mom would have given it, would buy again. I think I, at that age, didn't maybe understand the nuance to the women's circumstances. So I would have done 2-day rental.
Yeah. Jackie?
This is my first viewing of Waiting to Exhale, so
Oh, new
I've
Oh,
eyes.
never
welcome
seen
to the
it.
club.
You are now a woman.
Thank you.
I want to say somewhere in between 5-day and 2-day rental. I'm I'm gonna say 5-day for
Okay.
right now. And it is true. It is a rite of passage. If you grew up during when this movie came
Yep.
out, it was something to behold. It's kind of like how I'm sure a lot of people are looking at Sinners because there were a lot of people
Hmm.
who are like, I don't get it. Like, why are
Hmm.
people so obsessed with this?
Hmm.
And that's fine. It probably just means it wasn't for you, and that's okay. But that's how I feel like this movie was such, it shook up the box office essentially. But to our
Mhm.
moms, it was the first time a lot of Black women saw Black friendships, a group dynamic, and their socioeconomic
Hmm.
place shown for Black people. We were the middle class. What was that, you know? So I
I
just
don't know.
thought they were going crazy. My
I
my
don't know when.
mom.
Oh, right. I don't
Yeah.
know when Girlfriends came out, but this felt like a prequel to that, or just something along the same genre.
So Girlfriends came out in like the 2000s. So this
Hmm.
came out in 95. Now, this shook up the box office, like I said, but it also was a precursor to Sex and the City. I kind of
Oh,
feel
that makes
like
sense.
this movie came coming out
Hmm.
showed everybody that there was room for this kind of dynamic to
Hmm.
exist because it was before we got Girlfriend, Sex and the City, like any of that kind of stuff. And
That's
our
cool.
white counterparts, we saw a lot of it, you know, a lot of movies, but
Yep.
think of any other movies that came before this that had this
There
girlfriend
was
dynamic.
Waiters. Well, I mean, there's like the white version of the friend
No,
dynamic.
that's what I mean
Yeah.
for black
Yeah.
people. And also this, I think this movie is at the what ushered in the black rom-com
Hmm.
renaissance that we saw because everything after this is The Best Man, Brown Sugar, all of that. We didn't have any of that before this.
Hmm.
So let's get into box office. So this movie had a budget of $16 million and it grossed $82 million. Now imagine how these studio heads, they should have said, "Oh, we need to make lots more black movies," but that's not exactly what happened. But Terry McMillan, I think this one, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, Disappearing Acts one. I'm not sure if
Disappearing Acts
I think I don't,
was,
yeah, I don't know if she have any of her other books turned into movies, but she was on a run,
I feel like
generational
Disappearing
run.
Acts was, even though I haven't seen it. I just remember reading about it when I was reading about maybe Angela Bassett.
That one was with Wesley Snipes and
Was
I.
that tonight?
And
Oh yeah.
it was
Oh,
an
okay.
it wasn't a theater run. It was on HBO, I think,
Mm.
if I can remember. Okay, so critics were mixed about the film. Some praised it for centering Black women's emotional interiority. Not sure if I said that right. Others, predictably, did not understand the cultural stakes for the movie. Roger Ebert gave it 3 out of 4 stars, praising Houston, Bassett, and Whitaker's direction, noting this is a movie about strong and talented women who nevertheless find themselves starving for tender, loving care. I will say this. He's not off our shit list
No.
because after we have been talking about Baps, he gave it 0 stars. And
Yep.
I
Hmm.
feel like he said this because he felt like this was the palatable
It was.
way that Black women should be represented instead of it just being a spectrum.
It
Because,
was. There was a lot of respectability and propriety in Waiting to Exhale that you didn't see in Babs. And we had talked about that as well. Like the critical reception of BAPS versus the cultural reception of BAPS, and
Mhm.
how we value it even as like a buddy comedy, even though other people might not view it that way, and what it meant for like Black girl friendships as well. But there was a lot of critical discourse about how ghetto and ratchet and just like unsavory like Niecy was, like the hairstyles, everything about it was just really like dramatic
Right.
and over the top, so people didn't get it because it's not for them. But to your point, I think these were all very classy, contributing, almost like model minority. Like these were the model Black women. It was
But
propaganda.
Even though
which
I'm
is
gonna say, even though they were really messy, and at times I
yes.
question their
We'll talk about
integrity
it.
and morals.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, we're
We're
gonna
going to
get
talk about
into
it.
it because I think this was the first time I saw this movie as a truly functional adult,
Same,
and I'm like, what the
same.
fuck is going
Exactly.
on? This film was one of the first major films centered on Black women's friendships, love lives, and agency without ranking trauma, or sorry, making trauma or racism like the main plot. It showcased Black middle class suburban life, which was a rarity at this time. We're just coming off of all of the quote unquote gangbanger
Mhm.
movies of the early 90s. And it also gave women space, as Black women space to be more complicated, sexual, angry, all the emotions, and to a point where we're kind of side-eyeing some of the behavior, but it was nice to see that much freedom on screen that they could be that messy. And many predominantly white critics weren't impressed with the movie. And it opened in 1995, but moviegoers turned up in droves, making it one of the year's most profitable blockbusters. I think it was number 26 in 1995. But also, remember, Oprah had a special episode with the cast when they did this movie. And I believe I'm trying to think who was talking about Loretta. She was interviewed more recently, and she said that this was the first time a Black female-led movie had that much marketing and promo to go with it. They were having book clubs. They were doing a lot on the back end to push the movie, which they hadn't seen before. They hadn't seen a movie, a Black movie, have all the marketing behind it like a white rom-com would. So
Mhm.
she said that was like a first as well.
I
And
think it's
is it
also interesting too because, like, if you think about how famous Whitney Houston was at the time, and Angela Bassett actually was kind of like her name was pretty well known at the time too. I think she had just did Tina Turner's film, so she
Mhm.
had that under her
That
belt.
was, yeah, it was, she had come off 92 and 94 because I think also Malcolm X. So, like,
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. And then Whitney Houston had just did The Bodyguard, so I understand why they put so much money into like these women because we have these two heavyweights.
Mhm.
Is what I'm assuming when it comes to like putting money into the marketing. It's like, oh, okay, we already have these heavyweights. Why not put some money behind it?
yeah.
yeah,
And Angela Bassett was coming off of an Oscar nomination from What's Love Got to Do with it as
Mm.
well.
yep.
So they had
Rob.
some powerhouses.
Who
Yeah, now
won
I'm
over
wondering who
Angela?
won.
It,
Angela Bassett lost to Holly Hunter for The Piano in 1994.
Oh, the piano was good.
It was
Yeah.
like there's
That was a
some
good
that I'm
movie.
like,
Was that Adrian? No, wait, who was the lead in the
The
piano?
piano.
It
I don't
was
know his
Holly
name.
Hunter, and then Anna Paquin also won for supporting actress, and she was the
Oh,
youngest Oscar winner.
but I know what movie
Um,
you're talking
That's
about
The
with Adrian.
Pianist.
The
the
pianist.
pianist is
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
actually thinking of.
Yeah.
Never mind. I don't think I've seen the piano, but I was like, the pianist was fantastic.
The
Holly
Piano
Hunter.
is actually a really good
Holly.
movie.
What is her
Okay,
name? Hunter. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Holly Hunter.
I don't think I've
She's a
seen
good
that.
actress,
Yeah.
but I don't know. That I'm telling you, Angela acted her ass off in What's Love Got to Do
I
with
don't
It.
disagree with you. Well,
Holly Hunter
before
is good though.
yeah. Well, before we get into the cast and crew, let's hear a message from our pod pals.
In the competitive world of podcasting, two BFFs set out to do what mainstream Hollywood refuses to do. Talk about black films. We're looking at you, Academy. with planned guest appearances from absolutely no one, and a love for Regina Hall and Regina King, the likes of which you've never seen. Join Meah and Trish as they continue their epic journey into the blackness of film and television. Grab your finest bonnets and iron your durags, cause shit is about to get real. Like Angela Bassett in Waiting to Exhale real. You know the scene. It's going to be bigger, better, and did we mention blacker? In the...
Okay, so cast and crew. The director, Forrest Whitaker, was the unanimous first choice for the film's producers and screenwriters. This film marks his directorial debut for a theatrically released film.
Yeah, because I think he had done a TV show like maybe a year or two prior. So just wanted to make that clear. I don't want to hear anybody yelling at me. Yeah, Whitney during this time, this was a great time from like a cinematic standpoint, because she did The Bodyguard. It's either 92 or 94. I can't remember. I think it's 92.
Yeah.
And then after she did this, she did The Preacher's Wife.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other movie she did? Cinderella movie. And she produced that. There was another movie she starred in.
I'm looking it up right now.
I think Sparkle didn't come until 2012, 2011.
Yeah,
Sparkle
that
was
was
a while
later
later.
on.
Yeah.
So I did not like that movie.
Yeah.
Wasn't that her last movie?
It was. She had a pretty good run.
Oh,
with
The
the
Preacher's
movie.
Wife. Did we name that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
Oh, my eyes itchy. Okay. Well, like you guys were saying, there was so much star power. According to Whitney Houston, the four actresses. No, that's not what I wanted to say. So Whitney reportedly requested Angela Bassett for Bernadine, and then when they were looking at who else they should have, they were auditioning Halle Berry, Robin Givens, but they were like, you know what, we have so much star power between Whitney and Angela, let's get lesser known names, which is crazy because I could tell a white producer said that, because these two in the Black community at that point, everybody knew who they were, but I guess they were thinking the broad. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I don't not know them. So I'm like, what are you guys talking about?
And then also, according to Whitney, the four actresses fostered a harmonious bond prior to filming. They spent time together, engaging in conversations, meals, and enjoying champagne until the early hours of the morning, all to better acquaint themselves with one another.
oh my God. Can you imagine like being in the room with Angela, Whitney, Loretta, and Layla, like during the 90s when they're like at their peaks? I mean, I wouldn't say their peak, but like they're the hot girls.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah, I know there are so many amazing stories that were told.
Yeah.
And even thinking about like the conversation we were having about, going with like even the fact that Angela and Whitney were cast, but they had so much star power that still could have been in it.
Yeah.
I don't even want to imagine what it would have been like to be with like a Robin Givens, Whitney and Angela, or a Holly, Whitney and Angela.
Yeah.
That alone is very intimidating.
That-
Jeez Louise.
My initial thought after watching this movie as an adult is that it made me kind of want to read the book to see if it would help me better understand what was happening, because what the movie felt like were vignettes.
Like for the colored girls.
Yeah. It very much like you're just getting little, it didn't seem like a cohesive story of like that's one line driving it back together with all four of them. Whether it was like we saw them come together after Bernadine's like divorce, and we saw them come together for what was her character's name for the birthday?
Gloria.
For Gloria's birthday. But like if they had it like every week they were together, or margarita night or whatever it would have been, that would have been the thing that kind of
Mhm.
brought all this stuff. And then there were just dudes coming out of nowhere. And I'm like, wait, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think on your point about like the friendship, I was like when I rewatched it as an adult, I was really confused about how they were even friends to begin with.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
I was like slowly piecing things together. I was like, oh, Savannah moved back. Like I guess she is Bernadette's like really close friend, and then the other girls just get their hair done with Bernadine or with Gloria. So it would have been nice to understand the friendship a little bit more. And I do agree. Like I feel like that would have tied it together more. But by the end of it, they made it work because I like by the end of it, I thought they were extremely close friends. I didn't
Yeah.
even really
They
pay
la-
attention. Yeah.
they landed the
I think
plane at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it feels like I don't know if it was the last season or the last episode I'm thinking of Insecure, where life kind of speeds up and they just stop filling in the blanks because I will say on the second watch as an adult, I actually liked the movie probably more than my Y2K self, but we'll talk about that. I think it was kind of a realistic depiction of how those relationships, because like they're young, they're still like early 30s, it seems like, except for Angela Bassett's character, who's, I think she says she's 36 or something. But either way, like, I think that's how friendships go once you start to age and once you are trying to get your life together. And once like time passes sometimes and there's not really a lot of context for what's happening. So we watch them live as individuals and then we watch them come together in like moments of need and times when they just need to reset and come home to themselves. So I might be giving them too much like credit here, but it does, I know it does feel like, and I was high when I watched it, so there's that. But when I rewatched it, I had like such a open heart for even relating it to my own life and trying to think about how I have to work really hard to maintain relationships now. And there are moments that kind of go along and it's like we're not talking about things, but when we get together, whether it's the birthday scene, when they go out to the club, we do see them like clubbing together a little bit. We see them even as they're transitioning from wanting to go to the club and wanting to celebrate a different way. I don't know, it just kind of felt aligned with maybe how friendships are going at this age for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, maybe I think I was projecting too much. Because like because like honestly this if this movie's the foundation of which we've learned to see black female friendships evolve on the
Mhm.
screen, it
Yeah.
is very much in its early stages
Yes.
and you don't really ever get a sense of the dynamics. I
Mhm.
think, not having as much context as I think the way you expressed it made a lot more sense to me. But
Hmm.
I just still think that there were some things that maybe in the beginning we got, and then it could have gone into that because it does feel like you're just dropped into the middle of this, and you feel like you're playing catch up in the movie to try to understand
Hmm.
what the hell's going on.
And
You know, to your point, Danielle, I think like if we're talking about like maybe how the book framed it versus like how the movie interpreted or translated it,
Hmm.
there might have like I'm thinking of the book maybe doing it, maybe the book kind of drug things out a little bit more
Yeah.
because maybe like these conversations with these men were entire chapters
mhm.
and maybe there were callbacks to moments in high school or moments that they had known each other that just wouldn't have fit in the film because as choppy as the film is because I do agree that it's not maybe pieced together the best and that's why I said I'm giving them a lot of credit here
Yeah.
but I do think like even trying to throw those moments or those callbacks in, and this is me just assuming the book does this, or some of those more drawn out moments, it might have made it more disjointed than it already was. And that
Right.
choppiness would have been worse, probably.
I think I was also like looking for layers to the women or
Hmm.
understanding
Same.
why they were making some of the choices. Like
Yes.
why are you dating this horrific human being?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there a reason? Is there some background?
Mhm.
And like obviously Bernard now I don't know if it's
Dead.
Bernadine or Bernadette. Is it
Bernadine.
Bernardine or Bernadette?
Dean.
Bernadine.
Okay, okay. Ber we know Bernadine is going through a divorce, but
Yes.
like the way he, the way even he's positioned is that he's just this horrible dick. Like we don't,
Hmm.
All of a sudden,
right? We
Hmm.
don't see that they had a great life or that they were arguing. It's just like she looks happy. She's showing us, the
Hmm.
audience, no signs that they're having troubles. And the way he treats her is as if she did something to him. Like I would
Yes.
think he's John Wick and she killed his motherfucking dog the way he is acting.
He told her it was easier because of the way she was like talking to him about or holding him accountable. It's like, oh, you've
Right.
made this so much easier for me to leave you for this white woman. And it's like, I don't know if you
I
really
don't
needed
know.
any help there, buddy. Like, I don't know if you needed me to
No.
do anything. You were gonna do this regardless.
Yeah. My
But
husband did yell at the screen, "What a coward!" when he was just like, "I'm leaving you for this lady." I was like, "You tell him, honey."
yeah.
So we see why Bernadine is
Mhm.
what she's like going through. We kind of see that Tim, I keep forgetting names. Okay. We see that Savannah is coming back. We don't know if she lived there before, but she doesn't express like we don't hear her calls talking to like to Bernadine or leaving a message like, "Girl, I miss my best friend." So we at least get that
Mhm.
because that's never told. And then
Well,
we
I will
also don't
say,
know. Mhm.
sorry, in the very like literally the very first scene of like Savannah driving back to Arizona,
Mhm.
um,
Is she
she
calling her?
no, it's just the voiceover, like her thinking in her head,
Oh,
Mhm.
and it's just explaining like why she's moving back, which is basically like the men are trash, the opportunities aren't the best, so I'm moving back to like Arizona. That's like the little piece they give
gotcha.
us.
I missed that she said
Well,
back, but
and and but within that exposition or like her internal
Mhm.
thoughts, it could be like, "I'll be so happy to get back to my best friend," or what. Like they
Mhm.
could have just thrown in a line to kind of connect the dots because it's really like we get a line about how Bernadine goes to Gloria's salon, and that's
Mhm.
we're assuming that's how is it Robin knows her?
yeah, because there's a thing that Robin works in the insurance or whatever she does,
Mhm.
like her office is like next door. So
Yeah.
that's how we find out like there's some proximity between them.
And
And
then it
then
feels like, but we don't get it until towards the very end when Savannah shows up for Bernadine's court hearing, like, oh, they
Mhm.
must be like the glue. Like they're the two
Mhm.
that came together and then Gloria and Robin were brought in, is what it felt like to me, but it was never really explained. I'm just
but
gleaning
You
those
know,
pieces.
understanding who they are, and this again, I may have been giving them too much credit because it's a little, there's a lot of shit missing as far as the background with the
Yeah.
characters. However, I read the Wikipedia plot even as I was watching it because I was high, but there was moments where I'm like losing the plot. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And like, why is this? Who is this man? Like when she showed up to the party, Robin in the
Yes.
white dress with the guy, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Where did he come from? Like
right.
I was very lost. So I was like, let me pause this. Let me regroup. And I read the Wikipedia, and the Wikipedia summarizes each one of them very easily to better understand their characters. But I also feel like even when I was reading about the movie, one of the reviews on IMDb was talking about how Whitney Houston is on the phone with her mom and she does this thing where she's like, I'm smart and I'm doing good and I'm a good person. I'm kind. I'm like, if you have to tell the audience who you are as a character, you might not be embodying that character or it might not be translating well if you have to have
Right.
that kind of exposition into the script. So there was a lot of moments where I was a little confused to your point about motivations or who they're supposed to be, like who they are at their like the layers of the who they are as women. But the Wikipedia helped me fill in some of the gaps, and I'm like, oh, thanks. I don't know where this information was in the movie, but this is cool. Now I can fill in some of the spaces. They also mentioned that Robin is the youngest, and they start kind of pointing at ages and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, maybe her mentality makes sense because they're like, oh, she's a little immature, and I'm like, did they? Where was that? Again, like where were some of these plot points and
Right.
character backgrounds? So,
I thought at first, like, then I started thinking Savannah and Robin were really close because we got a
mhm.
lot of scenes of just those two and them be on the phone. And because then
Mhm.
we also see Bernadine and Gloria separate. So I'm like, okay, we all know if there's four girls, there's like eight friendships. Like, we get it. But that's what I spent so much capital during this movie as an adult is trying to figure out
Yes.
the
Yeah.
backstory.
I think
Oh,
Bernadine was the glue for all of them because I feel
yeah.
like if Bernadine wasn't there, like if her storyline wasn't there about the divorce, I don't think these women would have like came together as often as they did. So I don't know. Again, we are talking about these plot holes. So
Right.
who knows
Mm-hmm.
who really was the actual glue? But going back to, I forgot who said this, but I think you said this, Trish, about about Savannah talking about who she is like over the
Yes.
phone. I think that's who she thought she was because when I look at Savannah's character,
Mm-hmm.
she's to me she's my least favorite character, even though Robin's the messiest. But
Same.
Savannah to me was someone that kind of felt like holier than thou. Is that how you say holier than
Yeah.
thou?
Mhm.
But it and she's like sleeping with a married man. So I feel like she thinks she's these things like a good person and has all these morals and integrity, but that's not really how she's living her life. So I don't know if that was purposeful or like you were
Mm-hmm.
saying, it was just like laziness in the writing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was good at the end when Robin and Savannah were talking about them both philandering with these loser married men. And I think Savannah hearing who we already have established that Robin is
Mm-hmm.
younger and less mature,
Mm-hmm.
tell her situation
Mm-hmm.
that it's ending with me being knocked up by this loser. That's when it's like all the lights come on for Savannah to be like, I've been doing city girl stuff
Mm-hmm.
and I need to get my life right. So I think
I think
that
Savannah
was good.
irritated. I think Savannah irritated me the most as well, but I
Yeah.
also think it was because I saw younger versions of myself in Savannah,
Hmm.
and there was something that I didn't like about seeing that. It made me cringe, like internally as an adult woman, because I'm watching like moments in my own history where I'm like, damn, I have done some stupid shit, and I have totally had this. I've protected my ego in the process, and it felt
Yeah.
like, to your point, Mia, that's what Savannah was doing, was protecting her ego as she was able to justify and rationalize the decision she was making and somehow remain a good person in her own story, even though she's a villain, literally in this man's wife's story. So I think watching that, I was like, ugh, I don't want to see this. This projecting things onto me that I don't want to feel anymore.
Yeah.
So she was my least favorite, but I think it was because of like my own shadow work.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you because it's almost like watching Love and Hip Hop or any of the reality shows, and you're like so judgmental. But then
Hmm.
when you really do, like if my 20 something year old self sat across from me, I would be like, you dirty little whore,
Yeah,
sit down somewhere. You
Exactly.
know, like
Like,
what
that
are
girl.
we doing?
like even with Robin and Trish, you were like, "Where did this man come from?" I'm like, "That's what we did." Like,
Yeah, it
random.
was what we
Like,
did.
I met him last week. What are we talking about? Of course, I'm going to meet his friends.
And he doesn't have like a real name. It's,
Mhm.
toilet paper or whatever random ass thing that you
Yeah.
associate with them.
And oh yeah, right. That we haven't even saved like their full name, or like my friends only know him as Green Jeep or something. It's
Right.
like, you know that guy. But even Robin's character, like you said, she's the messiest, but she also like, I don't know, her choices were very questionable, but I appreciated her trying men on in the way that she was. She was dating,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and she seemed to be, minus Russell, and we could talk about Russell more when we talk about, the adult versions of us. But for the most part, even when I was watching the scene with Marvin and her just trying this nice guy out and maybe not being, and like even in her mind, she's being super judgmental. She's
Who,
disgusted by this
Gloria?
man.
Oh, no, it
Robin.
was
No,
I think his
Marvin
name was Marvin, though.
Oh
is
no, not Marvin. Michael. It was
Michael,
Michael.
Michael.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when she was dealing with Michael, the guy, like the accountant guy that she worked with, she was disgusted by this man. She was repulsed by him. But she was just like, like he makes me feel like beautiful and sexy, and I'm just gonna try this nice guy because I
No.
just want the right thing for once. But it's still Russell. So I do think I appreciated that she was actually like dating and trying things out. I just think that she still was very messy in the process.
She wasn't. I actually like I feel like a lot of women have done this where you try to go, you say it's a nice guy, but really it's, you outrank this man and
Yes.
that you feel like in some way he's obligated to
Kiss the
appreciate you
ground you walk
more
on.
Mm-hmm.
or not treat you like the
Hmm.
other hot guys, quote unquote, or your typical type would. So she settled, was mean to him in her head, but she told him what she wanted in some ways, but she
Hmm.
didn't like sexually, she did not say, "Hey, you better get back and finish this up," or
I have a
like,
question about that scene
yeah.
because
Hmm.
he's like struggling to put the condom on. Then he throws something behind him. I'm like, did he throw the condom on the ground? Because he
I think it
couldn't
was
get
the
it out.
rapper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he
Okay.
ripped it with his teeth.
I was
The 90s was really good about
worried.
like contraception.
Yeah.
Yes. But I was real worried for a second. Like, did he just like completely ignore the fact that she asked him to put a condom on? Okay. I
And
feel a little bit
But
better.
Jackie, you're onto something too though, because I mean even that would be that was indicative of a larger problem than just selfishness. But even the way like he fucked her was pretty like you again, I think she was expecting because she's this beautiful woman
Mm-hmm.
and he's not her preference, but he's 100%, she's 100% his preference that he should kiss the ground she walks on. Like she wanted everything. But I think even she expected something different when he fucked her. Like she was expecting more attention. She was
Yeah.
expecting a more sensual way of being handled.
Like he was
And
gonna dote on her,
yeah.
yes,
and
and give
that
her
didn't
exactly
happen,
what.
and like the illusion shattered.
No.
Like,
Yep.
oh,
And he
he's just a
spun the
man.
block on her ass and
Yeah.
embarrassed her
Yeah.
at work on top of that. Like, so I think there was a lot of lessons to learn from Robin
Yes.
in general because it was
Mhm.
just like,
But
girl.
even the way she detached from him was very much like this would have never worked because you were never really invested. You were only
Yeah.
invested up until the point that he treated you the way you felt like you deserved to be treated by someone
Right.
like him. And
Hmm.
that part's
Right.
important because you don't feel like you deserve to be treated a certain way by Russell. You're taking
Right.
anything from Russell and you're
Yes.
just waiting on Russell to show up and whenever he feels like it. But with Michael, it was just like, oh, he thinks he's getting this again after he embarrassed me at work? Absolutely not. Of course you could feel that way and you can protect your ego in that way because you used him
Yeah.
allegedly in your mind, not the other way around. But the lesson is, ladies, gents, non-binary folks, that even your preferences can do you dirty.
Yes.
I mean, even those that are not your preferences can do you dirty. So,
Everybody can
yeah.
get it essentially. So, okay, let's look at Savannah's dudes. We got Kenneth, played by Dennis Haysbert. Has is it Hasbert? Haysbert. And then, oh, what was the other guy's name that was also in Soul Food?
Started with the guy from the beginning.
Yes,
Oh yeah, yeah, the husband. I have no idea what that man's name is.
Yeah.
damn.
He always a villain though.
Is it Lionel? Jeffrey D. Sams, I think. I was like, okay, so you went to this party, you sat down at this table where there were couples there. The girls immediately want to like cuss your ass out because what, you're pretty and you sat there.
Yeah.
And then you're admitting in your head that you will steal these men from these women. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, this is an introduction. And then this dude comes and you think, oh, she's got a person. And here's Kenya Moore. I thought you were gonna dance with me. I was like, what's happening right
Yeah,
now?
because like there's this whole thing about them playing voicemail tag and they finally get to meet up
Hmm.
at this party and then immediately this lady's and I'm like, dude, like it, it, it's never going to work out if you invite both of your women to the same event. Like
Yeah.
that's on you.
That's the
Yeah.
audacity. But apparently, this is Kenya Moore's debut, and she revealed in an interview with Cocoa Butter in 2023 that she had actually auditioned for the role of Robin, but lost to Layla Rashan, and subsequently made this brief appearance as Denise. So,
Yeah, they made a good choice. I didn't continue more
Yeah.
as a
no.
reference.
Was it on the first season of Atlanta Housewives? One of the women was actually married to Leon. That's their ex.
Yeah, it's not the first
Is
season,
that
but Cynthia
it's
Bailey,
Cynthia? Okay, okay,
yeah.
maybe it's not the first. All right, yeah. That's all I was thinking about, like how that would have been such a weird messy thing if, I don't know, if she ended up being in the movie more and maybe hooked up
Oh
with
yeah, and they
Meah.
were making out and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that scene. And then Gloria, I feel like Gloria could have definitely been stereotyped as like the plus size woman, not
Hmm.
being sexualized, kind of
Mhm.
being
Like the
buttoned
mammy.
up, the mammy, exactly. But then when we find out her ex is gay, that whole
Bisexual.
oh, is he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
bisexual.
My bad.
Here.
That
It's
makes thing a
yeah.
lot makes a lot more sense now. It's coming.
I also feel
Okay.
like Terry
But
loves to
he
throw like a
really,
gay man in there, bisexual
yeah.
man somewhere in
Can
her
we
storylines.
Because she's
can we touch
questioning
on
her
that
own
though?
marriage.
Yeah.
Like, can we touch on that a little bit? Because it was a big, huge moment for him
Hmm.
to admit he was bisexual. And
Yeah.
then when she goes to talk to, is it Tyreek, the son?
Hmm.
Oh
And
Right.
she talks
yeah.
to the son about it, and he's like, he has this whole homophobic, rant that goes on about, his dad being queer and all this other stuff and uses some slurs. And then it never comes up again.
No.
They
No.
created such a huge moment to never speak about it again. That was very confusing to me.
I think what I gleaned is the point of like that interaction was because the entire time the ex-husband is talking to Gloria, she's like, "Do you want me to get Tyreek?" Like she's trying to get her son, and he's like, "No, no, no, I don't want to see them." So I think to me it was like he didn't want anything to do with his family after like this revelation that he had. And
I
so,
thought he wanted
Yeah,
to
he
come
he.
see
did
him at
he?
the
Mhm.
hotel.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He didn't want to stay in the house because he finally had the
Yes.
balls to not
Got it.
set up Gloria,
Okay.
essentially, because he has,
Yeah.
it seems like the pattern is for years he's been like fucking her, sleeping at the house,
Mhm.
and like barely being there for his actual
Got
child.
it.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And so in this weird way, it was almost like he was making it seem like she was being thirsty for him, but
Mhm.
in all honesty, he hadn't spoken his truth.
Hmm.
Yes,
And I just feel like the way he did speak his truth was kind of mean.
it
Like
Yeah.
was.
obviously you have a secret that you haven't told me and it's important, but you're also being a shithead all these years and literally dicking me over.
Hmm.
And now that you have this revelation, you want to dump it on me. Don't give me a chance to process, or for us to process as parents how we're going to handle discussing, even though our son is an adult, he's not 18 yet,
Mhm.
so almost adult. That would have been a great opportunity to kind of discuss that so that Gloria then in return wouldn't have said it in such a flippant, angry
Yes.
way
Hmm.
to,
Because
Well,
did he tell Tyreek he was gay, or Gloria told
Gloria told
Tyreek?
Gloria
him.
Gloria
told
Yeah,
told
and
him.
even in that, that's not fair. It's like
No.
he
Yeah,
should have had that
he.
conversation.
But my thing is also there's a confusing part. Sorry, gender sexuality major. There's a confusing part that happens, and I was thinking through kind of like like the homophobia and transphobia that was rampant within the 80s and 90s, especially with AIDS, HIV
Mhm.
epidemic. But there was something interesting about the way that he juxtaposed his sexuality with his attraction to Gloria. So when he tells her he's bisexual, he also frames it as like, that's why I didn't respond to you. But bisexual
Mhm.
means you are both attracted to men and women.
Hmm.
So it's interesting that you're using that as the excuse for not responding to me, even though I am still technically part of what you consider to be your preference. He
Right.
never flat out just says he's not attracted to her. He kind of just says, I'm not responding to you because I'm bisexual. But that feels more like associating bisexuality with being gay and not actually being bisexual. So it was an
Right.
interesting framing of that conversation. My brain was just like,
No, but I do think that either two things happened. One, the bias of, especially even in Black women communities, we still
Mhm.
have there's a huge stigma about dating bisexual men who
Yeah.
are honest and open about that.
Mhm.
And how we respond to that, as some of the things that I've heard in
Yes.
private conversations, that I think could have crept into the script and how they wrote
Yes.
it. Or
Mhm.
the flip is that you could and it's a little bit more of a leap, you could have looked at it as potentially that he didn't react to her because he knew he had this secret of him being
That's
bisexual, and
fair.
being around her made it feel like he was lying and not being in his true self. So I think he
That's
was
fair.
dreading telling someone he was, I think they were married. I could have made that up, or at least they were partnered
Yeah, I don't
together
remember.
at some
Yeah.
point, and he has not told her, and he probably had these feelings when they were together. So that's
Yeah,
the only
interesting
other
choice.
thing that I could think of, giving them a whole lot of cushion if that was it.
We're being generous.
Yeah, very. Then her son, Gloria, was definitely giving boy mom.
Oh my gosh, they're never beating the allegations. And she
Never.
says in the conversation at the like towards the end where she's like, "Oh, he became like my companion." And I'm like, "You're not beating the allegations ever." So when you have like that boy mom conversation, it's always like, "You're not dating your sons, man." I kind of had that moment where I'm like, "Girl, if you don't leave that young man alone and stop
Yeah,
trying to put the
same.
responsibility of a spouse or a partner on him, that is your son. You are his mother. There's a different positionality that comes with that, and you cannot date your son. I'm so sorry."
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
her storyline was one of the most important for like
Mm-hmm.
specifically Black women, like
Yep.
especially when Gregory Hines' character came in to like
He was great.
show, yeah, to show like what a man is supposed to do and how he's supposed to like help raise another young man, even though, you know, Tyreek, is it Tyreek?
Yeah.
He was about to go off into the real world, but he still did provide some type of like structure and like grounding that Gloria wasn't able to give. Because even the fact, like Gregory was like, you need to get over yourself. Like he
Mm-hmm.
needs to live life and go out in
Right.
the world. Like
That's a
stop
good
being so
man,
attached to him.
Savannah.
Yeah,
The good
so,
man. I
that
do.
was the good Black man. Savannah.
So
Right.
I had a whole moment about that, thinking it through. And I know we haven't kind of like, and you could tell me if we're not quite here yet, but I was thinking like younger self versus myself now. And my younger self, the fuck boy in me recognizes the fuck boy in you. I thought Russell was the most attractive guy, just based off pure physicality. But when I
Yeah.
rewatched it, I was like, what was his name? Gloria's guy?
Marvin.
Oh, Marvin.
Marvin.
Oh, okay.
I found Marvin to be like the most grounded and attractive man in the entire cast. I think to your point, Meah, like he was able, like when I was younger, I thought he was kind of corny, and it's like, bro, why are you so obsessed with me? But that's not the case at all because my frontal lobe wasn't fully formed yet. What do I know? But watching it now, I was kind of like, he was very emotionally balanced, and it was so attractive to see that. Like, he held her accountable, but he did it with care and compassion for, like, maybe the parts of her that she didn't quite love. And he spoke a lot of love into her insecurities, which I thought
Yeah.
was a really beautiful display of masculinity that, especially in the 90s, we probably weren't getting with, the rise of, like, the hood classics and stuff like that we might just not have been getting enough of. So I thought actually rewatching it, he was probably the most attractive, even if I'm not basing that solely off of physicality.
No, have to agree. 100%. Well, for me, when my younger self watched this, it was all about Donald Faison for me because like this was right after Clueless.
Yep.
So I was like, I loves me some Donald. So him just
Mm.
being in it, I was always gonna be following Gloria's story regardless because of Donald. And then I used to tap dance growing up, so
Uh,
Gregory Hines, that was it. So I don't think there's much gap between then and now. I was not looking at any of them other losers. I was like, you remind me of my daddy. You remind me of my daddy. You also remind me of my daddy. Far, far away. But it was cool that Donald actually got to be in the music video of sitting up in the room in my
Mhm.
room for Brandy because of Clueless, because she saw Clueless, was loved Donald Faison, and so they started hanging out. He said Brandy and her family were like his first
Oh,
real like famous friends.
Oh,
Oh.
that's
And
cute.
it was. And he's like, for a few months there, he had a run. He was hanging out with Brandy.
was
And
he
so
hanging out with
that's
Ray J? That's probably not the
But Ray J was still young, so
Okay,
I
fair.
don't know if he was necessarily hanging out with Ray J. But
Gotcha.
let's never forget, as much as Brandy is iconic, that they're on the same branch and I don't think they're that far apart with some of her antics. I just think that when she was doing it, it was the 90s and we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
But
And
we
also
all
Valid
like
heard
point.
stories.
she also accidentally killed a guy.
She
Yeah.
did, and she also tore the cornea of the guy from Marcus Houston's group, Immature.
She
Wait,
tore his
she snatched
cornea?
You
somebody's
know the
eye
one,
out?
the guy
Yeah.
with yeah, Brandy did that.
That's why he has the
No,
patch?
Yeah.
Why would she do that to him?
I
I
I
never
think
thought that
she
was
knew
like
that.
threw a
aesthetic.
book or something. I don't know, but
In
yeah,
my
he
mind, it was like Mortal Kombat, and she like ripped his eye out.
Yeah. What's interesting is Brandy is always checking Ray J in public now, and for
Yeah.
that to be happening is always interesting. Now hearing this, because it's like, why don't you treat yourself with some respect, Ray J, or why don't you conduct yourself appropriately? You pulled a guy's eye out. Well, you scratched his cornea,
Well,
allegedly.
the whole summer there was all these rumors and stuff about like Brandy and Beyonce because she came to the
I
tour
seen that.
and she,
Yeah.
because Kelly's on the ticket with the Boys Mine tour. And people forget like we were there when
Yeah,
like I don't think people can conceptualize now that at one point Brandy was the big dog and
it was
Beyonce was
Beyonce.
still in Destiny's Child and it was just a totally different dynamic.
Yeah.
And there are rumors of just like how Brandy was with people, hence her and Monica just,
Hmm.
recently closing their beef out. So if you're a top girl, I mean, Brandy
Hmm.
had a Barbie. She
She did.
had the
She was
top
Cinderella.
rated. She was Cinderella. She had a top, like the people don't realize how many people watch Moesha. Even though it was on UPN, that show it had numbers.
Yeah,
Brandy
Brandy
was
was
that
the it
girl.
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So
Here is the recount of the cornea incident from Romeo. So he said another member, Half Pint. So Brandy and Half Pint got into it. She had a book in her hand and just tossed it backwards, not thinking I was that close to her. It cut my retina and detached it. The lens to my eye fell out, and Brandon Adams was there and caught it.
Oh my God.
I love Brandon Adams.
That's why I read the
That's
story because I
Did he
knew
say
it was gonna.
did he say the
I
lens to his eye fell out?
Yes,
yes.
that's horrifying.
She get charged with anything?
I think
Probably
they were
not.
probably kids. Is
Either
that
way,
wild?
That's crazy.
it's a little wild, Brandy.
Apparently, fellow band member Marcus Houston apparently walked in right after the incident while Brandy scrambled to explain it was an honest accident. So if she was hanging, okay, here's another thing. It's a tiny thread, but if she was hanging out with Immature like that, and the
Hmm.
rumors back then was that Beyonce dated Marcus Houston,
Hmm.
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 well,
Well.
it's just a thread. It's just a thread. You
Just
pull
pulling
an
on
individual.
fabrics here.
Just,
See what
okay.
happens.
So I think we've talked about 3 of the 4. We haven't fully explored Bernadine's marriage and her crisis.
Escapades. What I think is interesting is after a man cheats on me horrendously and leaves me, would I go dance up on another woman's wife, a husband,
That's what my
Oh,
question was.
That's
Is
right.
like,
multiple
She
times?
she made the comment and I was a little concerned because when I was taking my notes, I was like, wow, I really love Bernadine's character. And I was thinking like actually watching the movie, I actually wouldn't be friends with most of these women now. And I was like, but I would be friends with Bernadine because, you know, you got the Robin who's over here being manipulative and she's a user and an opportunist. Whitney who's just adultering left and right. And then you have Gloria who's kind of like, I get it, you're going through some shit, but you're also like a Debbie Downer and I can only deal with so much of that in my life. But I was like, no, Bernadine's a fully fledged, like fleshed out character. And then she said that one thing and I was like, wait a minute, Bernadine.
I don't think many people caught that line at the club where she was like with the guy, the married man.
She said if he's here, like she's like something along the lines of like, well, if he's here now, like you know, I can't think about it. And then of course Robin's like, give me some, and I'm like, no, don't dap her up to that.
But what killed me was that Savannah was like, no, girl, don't do it. That's you, bitch.
Yeah.
What?
You were actively doing it.
Yes.
And you said you've been doing it for 5 months and it was supposed to be a short-term thing.
Yeah, man.
And you want him to leave her for you. So don't you dare.
Yeah.
As Serena says from Love Island, I support women's wrongs and rights, but Jesus, they were pushing it a little in this movie.
Well, and like I felt for Bernadine, like he was from the get-go, like protecting his assets from her, like almost like he knew
Everything
he
was
was
his
eventually
name.
going to leave her, and so he needed to protect all his assets. And for that fucker to like take away all of the monetary support for his kids and then try to take the kids from her, like what?
That guy was straight out of a Tyler Perry movie.
Oh,
Before Tyler Perry had fully conceptualized what he wanted to do, that guy was straight off of one of his pages.
I would have given him full custody and I would have taken him to court for my money and I would have been in Perry. I love my kids. I'll see them on the weekends. Whatever. But like some of these dudes really do need to get full custody.
Did they ever explain how she suddenly was getting all those assets in the end? Like, did they ever explain what legality changed?
I think they just did.
It was just like a general, like you submitted all the documents and after reviewing that. So I don't know if she had receipts that like she was the one who like helped build the company or something. And like, I could see it was interesting that like she got some of the properties because everything was only in his name. So she had to have some really good receipts to be like, no.
Great documentation. She had
I
Google
own
Drive.
half of all of this.
Right.
But I also think it like this is me watching like divorce attorneys on YouTube, but it just depends on what state you're in.
That's true too. I haven't thought.
Yeah, and I don't think they had a prenup or anything like that. So I think before he was just trying to get her to settle for what was it, like $300,000 or some BS.
Yeah, because he thought she was dumb.
Yeah,
he exactly.
Which was weird.
Right.
She didn't seem dumb.
But you know what it is? I do think that maybe in his mind, he's like, oh, I got her to quit on her catering business. She's highly educated and I got her to stay at home with the kids. He really thought he was that shit. And he's got this woman that he's cheating with who's also breathing up his ass. So he really forgot who the hell he married. And surprise, bitch, give me that money. I would have taken that money.
On fire.
Yeah.
Oh, it does say Arizona is a no-fault state and property division divides assets and debts acquired during the marriage equally, regardless of who was at fault. So I think she just had to prove that everything was earned during their marriage. So maybe just showing when the business was established was probably enough.
Yeah.
Okay, because they made it seem like it was an uphill battle, like they were fighting a prenup.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no prenup. This is going to be easy money.
Right. But the judge made it seem like it was going to be a hard road.
Yeah, it's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life.
Well, I think he was not banking on the fact that she was going to lawyer up and go after him too.
And you're going to pay my lawyer fees.
Yeah.
You're going to have to for what you've, like, you will feel my vengeance. You'll feel my wrath.
You're lucky this is the only car I set on fire.
Yeah. Bernadine was not a Cancer. Everybody's like, oh, she was, we would have meticulously ruined that man's life for years to come.
I think I would have. It would have been swift, but I think this probably would actually been my reaction. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. This is very much probably how I would have responded.
I do really like the conversation she has with the firefighter, where he's just kind of like, "Ma'am, this is a nice neighborhood," and she's like, "It won't happen again," and just like shuts the door.
But that
Which
was
would not have happened in
coded.
real life.
No.
It was so
No,
coded.
it was coded language to
Yeah.
say your kind can't be doing this
Yep.
bullshit that you
Yeah.
like to do. But
Mhm.
that would have been arson. She would have totally gotten
Yeah.
arrested.
Yeah.
Like,
White cops or like white, public servants in the 90s, they were beating
yeah,
everybody's ass.
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's like the West Coast. So they're over there just,
yeah.
a lot of shit's going on over there at this time.
Right.
Yeah.
So for the cops
Also,
to be like, you're good.
younger me was like, oh, that's so cool. Boss ass bitch
Same.
burned the car up. But adult me was like, don't put that shit so close to the house.
I
It will for
know.
sure blow up. You have gas in the tank. I was just thinking of all these things. I was like, that's just
A
not.
very dry climate. You got
Yeah,
desert out there, it looks like. Some
that
shit's
was
gonna,
dangerous.
one of those little rolly dust things gonna catch fire. And now you got a whole fucking West Coast fire again.
Although my husband's a mechanic by training. He's like, cars don't blow up like they show
Oh
in the
no.
movies.
What makes
Oh,
them blow up?
Special effects.
no.
What
They do
Not
like
even the
slow
gas?
down. No, because remember, my car burnt up in the parking lot of the Marlins.
Why did that
R.I.P.
happen to you?
Somebody put a hibachi grill under their car to cool off, and of course, it
Under
blew
the
up their
fuel tank.
car
Oh my
and
gosh.
everybody else's.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So
Yes.
Bernadine, she's sleeping with some guy who's kind of off the market, but is dating other hoes. I don't know. And he's not like all the sex scenes are a precursor to like Girlfriends and Insecure with these sex scenes. And I
Yep.
think it was like the first time we really saw honest women, Black women, being honest
Yes.
about some of these experiences
Mhm.
and faking it, which I don't know why we do that. I don't know if that's
I've
like
done
a
it
safety
before.
thing too.
I've done it before.
Well, I mean, we've all done it.
I've actually never done it.
What?
I know.
You've been blessed.
I
Either
just,
you've been
Yeah.
blessed or you're brutally
Or you're
honest.
honest.
yeah,
brutally honest.
I was just very like, I guess clueless, and I would just lay there and be like, "Are you done yet?"
I
I
think
think it was after the first time I actually came from during like sexual activity was when I was like, oh, yeah, I'm good from here on out. Like we don't gotta, yeah, I want more
Yeah.
of that. We're doing that again.
don't touch me
Yeah,
unless you're doing that. Thank you.
touch me with your eyes. But it was very much like once you start me up and never stop. So
Yeah.
once you got the engine going and I warmed up and realized like you're figuring it out, right? Like you don't
Yeah.
always know what exactly is supposed to be happening, and you kind of just put the onus on the guy most of the time too, which is why I think it was really interesting to get their inside their heads while they're having sex in this movie. But especially like when you're younger, it's kind of like, well, you're supposed to know what to do. Like you are supposed to know how to get me off, and nobody teaches you or has these conversations with you about, owning your own pleasure and knowing what you like and being able to direct someone, which is even more difficult,
Yeah.
about how to please you. So it was just, yeah. I was
And
just
I-
like, I get it. I know why you're doing it. Like, and Robin was an opportunist, so she was going to say whatever needed to be said to get the man she wanted.
But an opportunist for what? Because the girl got nothing. And I think that's the thing that kills me the
know.
most from this movie. Honestly, if her character did get as much stuff, I think men would have revolted because they would have been pissed. But
I don't know
yeah,
what she was getting,
she
but
didn't, not a fucking thing.
I
She
think
got
she
a,
was just getting validation, even though it was detrimental to like her self-esteem. She was just constantly searching for validation from men. And
Which-
because Russell kept coming around and like feeding that validation monster, he
This is
took her
true.
wallet and she was just like, "Oh, do you think he took it, bitch? Yes, he took your
Yes.
wallet."
but she was doing what Savannah was doing, but at the lower end.
Yeah.
Like if
Yes.
Savannah were to teach her anything is how do you get these higher caliber.
Yeah.
In the sense of that they're richer. That's it. Like
That's
they're
it.
still all horrible people. She would have been in the bag because when she had Wendell Pierce, who did he play?
Michael.
When
Michael.
he with Michael, I'm thinking, oh, is he a boss?
He sounded
Does
like
he
it.
the money?
Yeah.
Well, she
Like,
said that she was above him. So I was confused about that too.
yes, I was too. But then he's like, I have this house. So I'm like, oh,
Maybe
okay.
he's just good with money.
Yeah. But like, you didn't get anything out of it, girl.
Right.
Why? Like, usually when we're seeing these movies with the seductress, like she's taking her time before she gives up the cookie, and
Hmm.
you're giving it up for
For
nothing.
nothing.
At least
But I
go
mean,
to
Not
a
even
spa in
good.
Scottsdale first. Like,
Right.
I think to your point, Jackie, like there was a good amount of like ego feeding
Yes.
happening. Like her ego was starving. So even when Russell comes over and he's like, "Where's my pajamas, woman?" And she gives him his pajamas and they like lay, I don't know what he said, but they like lay down together. And one of like her guys calls and she hangs up and he's like, "Tell your little boyfriends not to call here after 11." And she like smiles because she's like, "Oh my God, you're so obsessed with me." And she like lays
Yeah.
down. I'm like, "Girl, that is nothing. He is giving you nothing. He is paying you
Right.
dust. You're not even getting laid tonight.
You're
And you're
not even
sleeping with your
getting,
back to each other."
Yes.
and you're not even getting a new bed. Why did that
No,
bed, the
it
whole
was
time I was watching
well,
it,
same.
I thought it was, when you go to Kohl's or one of
Hmm.
the department stores, they have
Yep.
those little mini beds to show
Yeah.
you. That's what I felt like she was on. I
So
said, "What
short.
size is this bed?
It
And
was
is
a
it gonna
square too.
pop
It was
open?"
weird.
Like it felt like a tissue box. I was terrified.
Well, and then when Michael jumps on her
Right.
on the bed,
Mhm.
I was like,
It's not, I
I,
can't handle it. I can't handle
Yep.
it.
and I was
Be
like,
careful.
I, I appreciate all body types, but don't be jumping on the bed.
Yeah.
Right.
Relax. Can we talk about one thing that I thought about quite often since I rewatched the movie? And it was that iconic line, because one of my best friends and we say it to each other, but we mean it in a good way. And I don't think I remember "that's a good man, Savannah." I don't think I remember the context in which the mom had used that phrase until I rewatched it. Because
Gosh.
sometimes when I hear good things about a guy, I'm like, "That's a good man, Savannah." But I'm like, actually, this wasn't
No.
being used in the right context.
But I always thought of it in the sarcastic way that like
Fair.
I would only say it about horrible men
Yes.
because
Oh, I've been
knowing
using it.
that you, my mom, are trying to get me to sleep with a freaking married man. Like, so you were a philanderer. You were
And
the
like,
side chick trying to live through me. Because
and
that's what
She
it
wanted
felt
that
like.
relationship to
like,
last.
why is
Yeah.
Mama talking to Kenneth?
Hello.
Right. And giving him your like address or whatever.
Yeah.
Like my mom would be like, "Stay the fuck away from my child."
Yeah.
Don't you ever call
But
her again, or I'll kill
Yeah.
you.
but that's the thing about older generations, and especially like women that are just, you have to have a man to survive, to be
Yeah.
successful, to like live by society's standards. It's like it doesn't matter if he has somebody else. He said he wants you, and he's
He's
supposedly putting
fighting for
forth,
you.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
supposedly putting forth effort to getting you. So that means he's a good man. And I feel like that was the thing too. Like younger me did think he was a good man until I
Yeah.
saw it again as an adult, and I'm like, oh no, there's nothing good about this man. Like I feel like they kind of made him to be the most attractive male in the whole
Mhm.
like
The most
movie.
desirable.
Yeah.
Yeah, the most desirable because he had a high paying job and
He was classy.
supposedly took care of his family, but
Bare
it,
minimum.
yeah,
Took care of a
it
kid
didn't
that
add up.
wasn't his. Like he's doing out here doing the Lord's work.
Right.
Like,
And my daughter comes first, and I'm like, get out of my face.
What's interesting about that conversation and what stood out to me is kind of along the lines of what Mia's saying, and I think this goes into like Y2K self versus my adult self. And the mom says something along the lines of, as she's encouraging this relationship, she kind of breaks down as like, "I just don't want you to end up like me." And it
mhm.
made me think that the generational difference in the way that they approach relationships versus like this discourse is happening now, especially like the whole Black women and Black men conversation that's taking place on the socials. And I was thinking, like, when she said, I don't want you to end up like me, her mom didn't seem to be doing bad. Like, she didn't seem like she was, like,
Well, she was struggling because Savannah was paying her bills.
I
But I
mean,
think it's like the concept of being alone. So for wait,
yes,
sorry
that,
That's what it is.
to
so, but that was my point, right?
yeah.
Like, her mom didn't seem like super, like I said, like, she's not like out in the street. She's not dealing with like, survival instinct type stuff. So when she said that, part of me was like, literally like 2 to 3 decades ago, like the worst thing for a woman was being alone. And I thought like how sad that was that that was the one of the worst things a woman could experience like 3 to 4 decades ago. But now when you see the discourse that's happening online, it really does seem like settling is probably one of the worst things we're thinking about as far as dating, which is why this kind of conversation is shifting where monetary benefits can't be all you bring into a partnership. You have to have like the qualities and the characteristics of a good partner. You have to be a kind person. You have to recognize the humanity in me. Like you have to honor something else in me that is no longer just monetary value. So I was thinking a lot about how that shift is taking place over just literally like 3 to 4 decades, because I don't know how old her mom was.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I it's a concept, it's a double-edged sword, I feel like in the Black community
Hmm.
because so many of our females are in relationships, but so it's like a lot of our generation that's trying to break through this. We see either
Hmm.
parents that are together that hated each other
So probably
or
shouldn't be together this long.
right, like it's bad,
Mm,
or a single mom, and you're looking up to them thinking that they have
hmm.
made a wonderful life with
Hmm.
what was given and what wasn't given.
Hmm.
And but then you're invalidating that by telling, I want you to do better, I want you to find someone. But I'm like, what you're doing and what you're saying are two different things.
Hmm.
Right.
It never seemed like you really wanted someone great
Hmm.
because done you haven't done anything recently to show that that's your path. Like,
Yeah.
and then it imprints on if you're going to make these decisions or not. Now you're
Hmm.
telling me I'm wrong because I've been watching you and you seem fine and happy and content. Why is that
Hmm.
a bad life, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of my favorite things about being a millennial and belonging to the generation we belong to is that so many of us seem self-aware enough to try to undo some of the patterns we've recognized in the past. Like we're recognized, it's like pattern recognition. We're seeing what our moms and our dads or our grandmothers and the women that came before us, we're seeing how they moved, and we're kind of using that as a learn from somebody else's experience
Mhm.
and do something different, which I
Yeah.
have appreciated that little evolutionary piece, because I do remember my grandma growing up, even to her, it was kind of like, oh, you got to get you a nice man to take care of you and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, I was like, pre-med in college. So there was
Hmm.
that. So it was just a weird thing. And then even when I got my doctorate, one of the first things my dad said was, congratulations. And afterwards, he was kind of like, well, are you planning to get married anytime soon? And I was like, bro, come on. So we still see some of those patterns that are left over from those generations, but I do think we, especially Black women, are learning to find more fulfillment alone and becoming whole people alone. That way, when we do enter relationships, we're not entering it with that desperation or that hunger or needing the validation or just some of the things we're seeing from these previous generations. Because even with Robin, she was the youngest, but I feel like she dated the most like modernly. I think her approach to it was modern. And even when she told off Russell in the end and was financially stable enough and confident enough to be able to take care of her baby on her own, I even thought that was interesting. Like where she's like, I'm gonna be a single mom, and then slammed the door in his face. I was just like,
And I would
God
have
damn.
said, and I'm taking your ass to court. I don't want anything from
Yeah.
you, but legally, you gonna be on these paperworks.
Mhm.
She literally didn't want anything from him and was
Yeah.
just like, we'll do this all on my own, not even threatening to take him to court. And he just sat there like a piece of shit, just like, oh my God, my seed, and then touching the door. So
I think that was she was trying to fill a hole within herself and like to be loved in the way she needed to be loved. And so it kind of felt like at the end, like the baby was like, oh, this is the solution. If I just have a baby, then I have someone that's going to love me unconditionally,
which is the Gloria pipeline, which
I
is
was gonna
another
say this is a
problem.
time loop. We're in a loop of time. Because I was also thinking about how Gloria becomes Savannah's mom. Like there's just like a whole recycling that's taking place where we're gonna see Robin possibly there's a pathway of reality where she becomes Gloria. And there's a pathway in reality where if she didn't have Marvin, Gloria becomes Savannah's mom. So it's cyclic. So
Yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. But what did look good were the outfits, this the 90s style and the decor. I feel like out of all the Black movies I've seen, this movie does a really good job of showing off Black interior design and how we all had these, gosh, it was a lot of earth tone colors. All of us had the same comforters,
decor.
decor,
It was
you name
everyone's
it.
mom.
We everyone has it. But what are some of your favorite fashion moments or just like details that you saw in this movie?
Pretty much anything Angela Bassett did in
Yeah.
this movie. But I think this might, I don't know. I not to hypersexualize her, but I really loved like Robin's lingerie and the ensemble she was wearing to
Yeah.
bed, especially the black one when Russell came over in extras pajamas. I was like, girl, where are you getting? Savage Fenty is not making this. Where are you getting these items from? I want some.
Yeah.
So I really loved those moments. I actually really liked the hair as well.
Yeah.
Whatever they had done to Robin's hair, whatever they did to Angela Bassett's hair, I'm actually starting to think that some of those like sew-ins or wigs or whatever people were wearing back then look better than what we have sometimes today. It just looks more natural.
They were because they would individually lace them and it was a lot of
Oh,
intricacies. They were very expensive. Like when you look at Tyra Banks, Queen Latifah, even Beyonce, if you look at their laces back then,
hmm
damn near flawless. And it's usually because of the same like they all had like the same person doing it, but it was a skill and it's being ruined right now. But
It looked
yeah,
great.
Yeah,
they did a great job.
I thought Robin had the best outfits. Like the white
hmm
dress she wore with Russell to the party is probably my favorite look of the whole film. Yeah.
And they've done it so many different iterations. I was reading an article on Jezebel and they were saying like Pretty Little Thing, Revolve, Fashion Nova,
hmm
they've all remade this dress a million times over.
It's a great dress.
It's gorgeous and it seems but also attainable and it just seems like I should have that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Like it should be in my closet.
It should. And I'm looking at their pictures and Whitney's little brown slip dress that she wears for
For the date thing.
yeah,
I thought that was
that and her
beautiful.
hair up with the little curls on the side. That
Yeah,
was
the
the best
French
she
roll.
looked. Yeah.
The fashion I didn't love was all of Russell's leather vests with no shirt on.
That leather vest is iconic at this point.
I did
With the
thank
king
my
glow hat.
husband for not embracing that style.
Love that.
Well, we have to give our hats off to the costume designer, Judy L. Ruskin. And so every piece was selected to suit the idiosyncrasies of each woman, while also placing them firmly in the realm of classic cinematic looks. Robin's white linen dress was the thigh grazing slits was the stuff of dreams. Plus, you see her midriff, like it's literal perfection.
Yep.
I also love Angela Bassett's those gold earrings that they had.
Mhm.
And I kind of feel like a lot of people have been wearing similar chunky gold earrings
Mhm.
lately. I think maybe a year or two ago there was one that was really popular. But I was like,
Tessa's
yeah,
style in his and hers also was very chunky jewelry pieces, which I
yes.
really loved.
And her chopping her hair off, which I feel
I
like
liked it.
is now like a trope in these
Yeah.
rom-coms.
Mhm. Like when we're
Well,
going through it, we just cut our hair.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I just watched Steel Magnolias a couple of weeks ago, and so it's like Shelby
Hmm
was going through a tough time, and so she cut her hair off, and then so it definitely was a trope that carried through movies during this kind of time frame.
Yeah. I love Gloria's style too. She has
hmm
a lot of chunky earrings and
Mhm.
necklaces, and that little silhouette one that she wears when she
hmm
meets
Marvin.
with Marvin for the first time, and she does her little sachet. I hope he's not looking at me, Richard. That's all I was
That
thinking
little
about the
wiggle.
whole time. And a lot of, again, earth tone colors,
Mhm.
but even the dress behind me, I like this
hmm
Yeah,
one.
Also,
Yes.
so good. Love a
But
bustier and burning car moment.
hmm little robe
yeah,
thrown over it.
he
Like
Yeah,
looks so fucking good. Even smoking the cigarette. There was a lot of smoking in this
a
movie.
lot.
Can we
Yeah.
can we point out the fact that they put those contacts in Angela Bassett's eyes, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was her real eye color when I was younger.
I did too.
I don't
Lies.
know
She
why they
sits on a
did
throne of
that.
lies.
Yeah. Very, very weird. Okay. Do we have any more fun facts that we missed so
Let's
far? Let's
see.
see. Oh, apparently during the car burning scene, Angela Bassett's monologue was completely improvised because, of course, she is that good.
Ugh, the line, I need you to be the fucking background to my foreground, like poetry. The fact that she just like pulled that off like the cuff, like
Amazing.
perfection.
Yeah. This is Forrest Whitaker's first movie, but I think he's done, was it three? He did this one. First Daughter was was Butler. Is that the name of the movie?
I
Was
feel
that
like
the
yes.
last one?
Yeah.
So like when every time I see that he did First Daughter, I'm like, what? That was a leap, but okay.
Well, he also made soundtrack history by bringing in Babyface to
Mm.
compose the soundtrack.
Which is funny because when we do Josie and the Pussycats, he comes up again, which I think it took a different turn.
Hmm.
What else we got? Okay, as for the soundtrack, it sold over 12 million copies and stayed at number one on the Billboard charts for 5 weeks. And it earned 11 Grammy nominations, won a Grammy for Best R&B Song, Exhale Shoop. And it was even nominated for Album of the Year. And I wouldn't have
Wow.
mad about it if it had won,
Yeah.
because it's pretty damn good.
It was shot at Monument Valley in Utah, as well as Chandler, Fountain Hills, Phoenix, and Paradise Valley in Arizona. Shout out Chandler. That's where some of our favorite people live. Holla.
Ah, some great national parks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went to Zion last year. It was beautiful.
In the spring of 2011, on an episode of The Talk, Angela Bassett had confirmed that there was a sequel in the plans with all the female principals signed on to star and Whitaker returning to direct. And the film was supposedly going to be based on the 2010 follow-up novel called Getting to Happy. But in 2012, obviously, we lost Whitney Houston, so that halted the plans. And the
hmm
25th, or is it the 30th anniversary? What year? 30th anniversary.
Last
I
year.
think they had a bunch of conversations and fun interviews if you ever want to go back and look at them, of them talking about the movie. And it's just sad. Miss
Yeah.
Whitney, like somebody in my family, that there's only a few celebrities you kind of feel that
Yeah.
she's
Mhm.
one of them.
I felt that way about Chadwick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I legit still,
Yeah.
that was hard.
I think we all had
Uh,
like a parasocial experience with Aaliyah too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And what year did she die? Because I feel like it had to be close to when 9/11
Yeah, I
happened.
think it was 2001.
Yeah. So I think 9/11 happened, shit, right before the MTV award, or before they had like,
Yeah, it was
because she,
2001.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's all
In
around that
August.
time.
That's crazy. Harry Potter came out, Aaliyah died, 9/11 happened. I don't know what the hell was going on.
Right?
I fell asleep watching Harry Potter. I actually didn't like it the first time around. Surprised, and then I became obsessed.
Yeah, fair. As long as
Yeah.
eventually you saw
Yeah, I
Harry.
eventually came around. And I put a little shout out, Jackie, because whenever I find that someone's had their hands on an eclectic group of movies in our time frame, I'm like, I've got to know who this person is. So this producer, her name is Deborah Schindler. She produced How Stella Got Her Groove Back, Waiting to Exhale, Little Black Book,
Hmm.
Mona Lisa Smile,
Hmm.
Wow.
Samantha, an American Girl. That's you. That's you.
That's on me.
Which one
I
did
thought
you
it was
have?
Felicity.
I was Kirsten.
Oh,
Heather
my
had
bad.
Samantha.
Oh,
Yeah.
shout out to Heather.
Holla.
Oh, she did Molly and Felicity?
And Made in
Jesus.
Manhattan, Monte Carlo, and The Perfect Stranger.
Ooh.
The
Uh,
Perfect Stranger is underrated, I feel like.
yeah. And what's the other one? Oh, Felicity. Okay. So Felicity, Samantha, and Molly, she did.
She had a chokehold on those American Doll
I used to
movies.
be an American Doll person. I used
Really?
to like, and I used to love the books. I think I loved
Yeah.
the like. I don't think I had that many dolls, but I definitely had the books. And I would be hankering for some of that lovely revolutionary storytelling.
That good old American
Yeah.
propaganda for you.
I couldn't wait for a new book to come out to learn what those girls were up to.
Yeah,
Getting me rights today.
my mom looked at it once and said, "You can only have one addiction." And I said, "Barbie's it is." You right, lady. I can
Oh, I was
only
definitely
handle
a Barbie
one.
person. I was also a Sims person. So once Sims came out,
It was
Barbie
a
It
was
was all
kind
wrap.
of,
over.
yeah.
So before we get into the ratings, why don't you guys tell us where everybody can find you on social?
Yeah, you guys can find us anywhere that you engage in social media. Shit Like Girls Watch. We're on most of the platforms: YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. And feel free to join our film club, and all that information is in our links in our social media.
And don't forget to check us out at No More Late Fees on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Threads, and Blue Sky. And we're going to start with you, Meah. What is your present day rating now that you're fully developed brain?
But I think it's still a 5, or sorry, 5 days. That's the thing, right?
Mhm.
5 day
A five
rental.
day checkout. Yeah, I think I'm still at a 5 day checkout. I don't think I need to watch this on repeat. I understand these women enough, but every other year or something, I'm down to like rent it and watch Waiting to Exhale.
Trish?
Interestingly enough, I think the rewatch with my nuanced understanding and lived experience, I actually went up to 5 day rental versus what I thought that's why I said I don't think I had enough lived experience to maybe understand the stories and the characters. But I think rewatching, and again, I was high. So I had like a really open heart for the characters and understanding their situations. So I also watched it with a more compassionate lens. So I would go up.
Jackie, now that you've seen it?
I, because I didn't have the nostalgia behind it, I felt like it was very long.
It was very long.
It was a very long watch. And so I'm going to do a 2 day. I do appreciate and I understand like the nuance of the movie. It's just not something I'm going to throw on in the background while I'm
Sure.
like doing stuff.
Yeah. Oh boy. I'm still between a 5 day and a 2 day because when I tell y'all the movie I watched was not the movie I remember. I don't know what I thought I saw when I was younger. I was like, whoa, have I seen this movie? I don't know. It was a lot to unpack. I was like, ooh, I'm glad I've seen this after I've gone to therapy because these ladies, there's something. I'm a
Can I
safe. No.
Go ahead. No, please finish.
I'm gonna say 5-day rental with a lot of that being for the culture, but I
Yeah.
was like, y'all straight to jail. All of
Would
you.
you guys have a point of reference for like something you do rewatch often? Like a
That was
movie?
something that would buy it.
Comparable.
Yeah, like what would you give a 5 just as a point of
Oh.
reference?
Well, we gave Baps a 5 and we loved that
Hmm.
movie, but
Well,
that's a
fair enough.
comedy. No, I think I gave Babs a would buy it.
Same. I think
Yeah,
it was a
it
would
was a would
buy.
buy.
I know I
I
mentioned it earlier, like Steel Magnolias would be like
mhm.
a would buy for me.
Interestingly enough, I rewatch Girls Trip a few times a year.
It's really
Yes,
good.
it is.
It really is an enjoyable film that that would probably be my 5-day would buy area
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
for this genre of movie
Mhm.
specifically.
I I feel like now rewatching some of these movies, like when I'm making content for social, it is really frustrating for me to like come up with themes, and especially when you get into the category of teen
Mhm.
like comedies or teen rom-coms or anything like that from our era. I was like, damn, it's really not a lot that that we have the white counterparts like the
Mhm.
Legally Blondes and the Clueless and stuff like that.
Yep,
We don't really have that in movies. So whenever I'm like trying to pull that
I
the
know.
the friendship aspect and stuff like that, we're getting it more now, and especially in television in some
Mhm.
ways. I think we had it a lot in television in the 90s. We had a
Yeah.
lot
Mhm.
of really great like teenage characters, but I didn't see them a lot in movies. And so after watching this movie, it totally puts a completely different thought process when I'm pulling content now, because I'm like, this is
Mhm.
trauma porn in a different way. And I'm sad because I don't know why I remember this having more joy. And I should have realized that a lot of women were mad when they saw this movie. Missed that.
I
Yeah.
do think it validated maybe some of the experiences of the time, which is why maybe our moms and like the older women around us saw so much of themselves in it. And I think, I don't know if that's allowed, but that definitely played a role in my rating,
Mm.
Yeah.
is that if if I'm understanding the movie from the time period that it came out in, kind of like Boys in the Hood or any of like the things that were coming out around that time period and what they meant at the time, I think to your point, I am holding on to nostalgia in my rating, but and for the culture in my rating and what it did for culture, but it is kind of hard to, I guess, rank it fairly and just based on like merit.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah,
cheating,
just
basically.
just for the fact like I would own it, I would definitely watch it again, but
Hmm.
this would not be like a comfort
Yeah,
movie.
Hmm.
I think that's
yeah.
totally changes it.
Well, if you want to join the conversation, we do have a question for our quick drop. Which character did you resonate with most, and has it changed now that you're older? Hit us up at our quick drop 909-601-6653. You can also text that number or leave us a voicemail. Twat us at the Twitters, hem us at the threads, butterfly in the sky at blue sky, and you can be featured on a future episode. And a very happy birthday shout out to our pal Stephanie. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show and contributing to Patreon. And we appreciate all of your support.
We love you, Stephanie. And
Yeah.
guess what? Finally did Mighty Ducks. I saw that clip that's where I threatened that we were going to do this movie. I manifested. Happy birthday, Stephanie. We love you.
We do.
And join us next week as Galentine's Month continues with the iconic Josie and the Pussycats.
And thank you, Meah and Trish, for joining us. It was an amazing conversation, and we hope to
Yay.
have you back on real soon.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
ladies.
Thank you so much. And as always, be kind and rewind. Shoop, shoop.